morning, Joel. How are you doing today?
I'm doing terrific. Thank you for hosting this and having me be part of it.
Oh, great. Well, we just wanted to take a few moments and kind of get everyone up to speed. So, would you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your background?
Sure. Um, and I'll try and not be verbose, but please cut me if you feel the need to.
Yeah.
So I've been working in Broward County for quite a long time, retired from Broward County Schools, where I was the director of, of fragile education all across the entire community. So I've been
Mm.
involved with our more challenging students and families for many, many years. I'm also, which I don't overly want to publicize, but involved in many, many boards and have been for a number of years. Most importantly, I'm a longtime member of the Children's Services Board, which is a county funded
Mm.
board which commits funding to behavioral mental health, special needs, and homeless children across our community. So I've been on both sides of the
Mm.
spectrum, providing the services and supporting the services. And that's been a real opportunity and an eye opening circumstance for me.
Wow, that's an amazing, you know, like legacy that you have, that you're bringing to the table. And then how did you get connected with the Deerfield Beach Community Cares organization?
Sure. And I think that's an important story. So if you build on what I had just said, for many years I have been concerned that as a community, not Deerfield Beach, but Broward County, United States, we throw money at problems. We think that a professional has the answer to an issue. We create a funding stream for that issue and try and attack it. And for me, that's having been a participant for so many years, it's
Mhm.
like a lot of tugboats trying to move in a direction. Um, so for 4 years prior to Deerfield Beach Community Cares, I took on the role of project program coordinator for the Florida Initiative for Suicide Prevention.
Mm.
And you will recall that 3 years ago, we had a well-known young man from Deerfield Beach High School who had just gotten a full scholarship to a primary college, and for whatever was going on in his psyche, right before years, he took his life by walking in front of a train.
Mm.
And because of what I do, I get calls for help from a lot of people. So the county commissioner serving Deerfield Beach called me about another family and could I arrange for help? And coincidentally, the school board member for this same thing. So I reached out to this other family who had a youth that was struggling, and we were able to provide some supports. But unfortunately, the young lady followed up the young man's death by suicide in the same fashion 6 weeks later. And I got very angry and frustrated and felt the pain of that. And at
Mhm.
the same time, Deerfield Beach is a community that doesn't have the resources that some of our other communities have. And so it was harder for families to get the supports prior to a tragedy such as that. So I started to come up to Deerfield Beach and just talk to people and spent quite a bit of time just talking to people and getting a feel. And I had, by the way, done work in Deerfield Beach as part of my school work years before, so I was not unfamiliar. But over the course of a year, um, I had a number of community leaders basically saying, "Who are you and what are you doing here? You're an old white man, you're not black, you're not Latin, you're not Brazilian, you're not part of our community." And I relish that part of a conversation because that's what we're doing now. And I frankly had some political leaders ask me the same thing. Why are people talking to you about the buoys or the street lights? And my response always was, or always is, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. So
Mm.
my concern was not the streetlights, but it was to listen to people. And out of that, I created Deerfield Beach Community Cares. So I am the president and CEO of the organization. It is a small organization, and it's built, Sharon, on five simple principles. I say they're simple, they're not. The first is nothing about us without us. It's not about an old man coming into community saying, I know what you need. It's about listening to the people in the community and responding to their needs. Um, so if I wanted to come into the community because of those two young deaths by suicide, and in talking to people, the concern was diabetes amongst the aging population, then that's what the organization needs to first address, because
Mhm.
people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And when you address their needs and their concerns, you're building trust and you're building hope. And
Mm.
hope ameliorates failure and it ameliorates death. So that's number one. Number two is a long history in the system of care. So many of our families are involved in multiple systems, and
Mhm.
those systems don't always talk to each other. In fact, often don't talk to each other,
Mm.
and are inconsistent in the rules that they expect a family to participate in. So it's about, in a smaller community of 86,000 people, can we align those expectations? Can we work with the city, eh, understanding there are laws and rules, BSO understanding there are laws and rules, the school system understanding there are laws and rules, and try and help people navigate through those systems in a way that is more concise and consistent.
Yeah.
The third piece, and I'm getting there, I promise. The third piece is bringing that down to the family level. That's called wraparound. And what that really is saying you have to deal with what's happening in the family. So, for example, if I'm a high school student and you're my younger sister and you're at the middle school, and I'm a perfect kid on the outside, I have nobody in the high school even knows who I am. You, on the other hand, are acting out like crazy. You're cussing out teachers, you're fighting, you're doing all this kind of stuff. They don't even know we're related. We have different dads, different last names, even though we live in the same house. They don't know that every night at home, I'm beating the crap out of you because I look like a perfect kid. And the only thing they know is you're acting out in school, but not looking at what's happening, what I like to say, before the knock, before the evidence of the behavior. So it's
Mhm.
getting down to where the family is and preparing to work with what they're willing to work with. Um,
Mhm.
and it's also approaching that family in a strength based manner, which so often is a challenge. So, again, if you take me as a, say, I'm the problem kid and you're my teacher and you're preparing your favorite lesson of the year. And
Mhm.
as you're preparing your favorite lesson of the year and you're so excited, you're saying, I hope that Joel stays home from school today. He's going to screw up my lesson. You're already creating a precondition,
Mhm.
and you're out in the hall before class and you see me walking towards you and you go, oh my God. And of course, I see that. So right away, we've created dissonance or an adversarial circumstance. So it's trying to address that. The fourth piece is very important to me. They're all very important to me, but I've spent a lifetime, trained Freudian and Jungian and all that kind of stuff. And at a certain point in my life, maybe 20 years ago or 25 years ago, I started to get much more interested in the impact of trauma. And it's changed my whole vision of people. People are not their diagnosis, they are an amalgamation of what happened before the knock, before what you see. And most of that is based on the trauma we experience. And in fact, I'm training about that next week. I do quite a bit of work on that. And then the fifth pyramid really is a standalone pyramid, but it's an outgrowth of trauma. And that's, we live in a culture of lack of equity, for a better term. People are not, don't have the same opportunities across our system, and all of these kinds of things together. So to sum it up, that's our approach. Those are the cornerstones of what we do. Then people next question is always, what's your program? And my answer is always the same thing. What do you want it to be? And so we respond. Now, we've done many things in the 2 years since we've been incorporated, very exciting things. And we think things that have impacted the community. Well, we know that, as a matter of fact. Uh,
Mhm.
but we're always open minded. I will say one other thing. A small organization like ours, it's always important to have key community leaders on your board. We don't have that. The people with lived experience. We have the people going through the challenges because we don't want to miss those roots. Every meeting we have is open to the public, open to anybody who wants to get involved in it and is involved in what the community wants.
Wow, that's a huge, you know, task that you've taken on, and it's important. I mean, because you're right. I mean, we live, in it's a small community that we live in within Deerfield Beach, and there is a lot of need. So, and that was part of the reason that I wanted us to have this conversation, because once I found out about the organization and what you're trying to accomplish, it was, I thought this would be a great way for people to just hear a little bit more about what you're trying to do in the community. And of course, our offices, Blade offices, have been in Deerfield Beach for almost 50 years. So I think that's, one of the reasons too that, your organization kind of caught our attention because we've been in the community, and, are very closely connected to Deerfield Beach. So it's kind of a no brainer,
That's very exciting, and we
Yeah.
appreciate your interest.
Yeah.
And we're
Well,
dependent on it, quite frankly. I mean,
well,
we're here for the community.
exactly. And then I think that's one of the things that we wanted to just try to partner and connect and do just something practical to help support your organization. And that's one of the things that we heard of is you have an organization called Nina's Place. Is that correct?
That is correct. Uh, I'm going to jump into that, but I want to just share one more anecdote, if that's permissible.
Mhm.
So, we lost a young man right before New Year's this year. A 16-year-old was killed,
Mhm.
shot and killed by a
Yes.
14-year-old. And again, while we don't need to push our way in, we want to be available. So the city called us and said, what do you bring to the table that can help with that? And we met and we've devised a number of things. And out of that, one of the things that we did was amongst the things in spring break, because it happened during a break period
Mhm.
and we want kids to be involved. Our organization took it upon ourselves as part of the city, but independent, to do a field day. And it was the last Thursday. So we set up and we had a whole field day activity on the baseball side of Oviedo McKeithen. But in the common area where the grills are, we didn't really announce anything. We just went there with a couple $100 worth of hot dogs and hamburgers and just fed people and just provided that. So to get to the point of Nina's Place, uh, and I have to say that, so when I started to come up, and of course I was a nomad, I was homeless in terms of a place. I met the really wonderful folks at Zion Lutheran Church, and they became quickly committed to the same kind of direction to aligning the tugboats. And over a little bit of time, they said to me, we've got this little junk room over here. Would you like to make it your office? So we did. And then we started to have meetings in the chapel during off hours and do some things like that. And getting to Nina's Place, so you cannot, everything we do, I like to describe as being on the arc of wellness. It's mental
Mhm.
health, it's mental illness, it's physical health, it's physical illness. They're all tied together. We are one body. And I realized, and not that it was a stretch, I didn't need to be that smart to realize it, that Deerfield Beach is not the best place for nutritious food, for providing resources of food for people who are suffering. And I also, being selfish, said, well, if I can feed people, I can talk to people. and I can get to the root causes. And we know that in some of our Black and brown communities, particularly amongst the men, they're pretty reticent, one, to talk to a white guy, but more than that, to engage in a therapeutic environment. They're taught through years to be tough, to do what they have to do. So we do a lot of things to try and change the dynamic. Anyway, so Zion, the folks at Zion, Robin Larson, the president, and Kurt Schmidt, the cantor, and we had these meetings, and I would love to just have a space where we could create a food market pantry kind of thing. And the light bulb went on, and they had a room of about 800 square feet with actually access onto the parking lot so it wouldn't interfere with anybody. And we started to kind of talk about the way to do this. And coincidentally, the Children's Services Council put out an RFP for food deficiency challenges in the community. And since we didn't have the experience at that, we reached out to a partner, Flippany, who does do nutritional work, physical safety, and all of that, and some food pantry. And so together we wrote a grant to the Children's Services Council. We were going to do this anyway. We didn't know how, but we were going to do it.
Yeah.
But we did get funded as of last October, and working to get it ready and renovate the space. We now have, if you closed your eyes and you didn't walk into this room, you would think you were walking into a small Publix. I mean, we have freezers, we have refrigeration, we have shelves. We opened January 7th. There are very few rules involved in it. We don't ask for much. And it's truly a food market. So you don't get what we give you, you shop. We give you like almost like a debit card of 20 points, and you go shelf by shelf and you pick the items that are right for your family. Every Saturday since January 7th, we've been open every single Saturday, 9 to 3, and every Saturday we've seen more than 110 households. That's several hundred people, and more than given and distributed more than 1 ton of food every Saturday. So we rely. Flippany had an agreement with Farm Share, so we get produce from them. We in our funding stream, we have some dollars to go out and purchase. We're spending way too much money to meet the need. We're negotiating. We've done all of the paperwork for Feeding South Florida. We're waiting for a response from them. And we negotiate across our partners who do the same thing. They're closing on 3 o'clock. They have excess stuff. We can run over and get it and add it to ours. So that's exciting. It's important. We feel great when we're doing it. We open 9 to 3. I will tell you, I get there about 8 o'clock. I stop at Dunkin' Donuts and get 3 dozen donuts. We're out in front there, talking to people, exactly what we wanted. People line up at 8 in the morning. We don't open till 9. And so all through that, we stay busy with people, provide other resources as best we can. The 4th Saturday of each month, we add the homeless task force and some sort of, either we make cook hot dogs, or this past Saturday we had St. Nicholas. The Holy Grill came and provided breakfast to everyone that was outside. So we try and make it a community event. And we have very few rules. Cutting in line or holding a place, those are kind of the only things. And people go in and they shop, and we have a great group of volunteers who are nurturing and helpful. Wonderful group of kids from the high school. That's the great news. The challenge is it's never enough. And we know that no matter what we've done, we've really only provided about 3 meals, even with the choices. So we need to expand, and we need to continue to grow. And the vision would be to be open at least another evening. We're open more hours than most food pantries are. We will do delivery, if someone's homebound or is pregnant and should not be traveling and things like that. So I could tell you more.
Wow, I know that's a lot. There's a lot to take in for sure. And then I think it helps everyone to understand, okay, what your challenges are, what your needs are, and even how, like you said, there's not rules in your every Saturday. It's a way, to connect, for the community to come out and support you. And now, as far as like, if you were going to drop off food, is the best time to do that on a Saturday, or is the best time to go to your website? And like if you're just a regular person, and I know that we're doing this food drive with our offices and the people that we know and connect with, but I know that's just one specific thing. But after the event's over, how do people donate?
And we're still trying to figure that out because we'll do whatever it takes.
Okay.
Um, we've had two drop-offs this week when we weren't there. Fortunately, at Zion, there is an early learning center, and they are on property every day. So people hit the buzzer and bring things in, and they're saying, "What is this?" And so it's that kind of thing. Um, we know that there's a food pantry that's got excess produce tomorrow. We're going to run over and get that. Um, we can make whatever arrangements that will work for a person either or people or organization, because again, we want the food. What we try and do, so Thursday tends to be a shopping day, to fill in with what we're going to purchase. Friday, Feeding South Florida delivers. So Friday afternoon, we may have to run to a restaurant depot or somewhere if there's no lettuce, or we're right at the point where we know the 20 items that we really need to have, even at the expense of not having the 23rd item, because black beans are more important than mashed potatoes or something like that. Um, so we're pretty flexible. I will say that we're kind of at the point where we're saying canned goods and cereal is an easy donation for people. So we should stop buying that and encourage people to drop that kind of thing off. But I will say the biggest gap for most food pantries is protein, meat,
Mm,
breakfast meats, chicken, and that we're struggling with. And we're hoping
mm,
that when we finally have the agreement with Feeding South Florida, that will address some of that and change some of the pressure up. So I would say the to fit into our small staff, a Thursday afternoon delivery or a Friday morning or whatever would be really good, because then we're setting up for Saturday. And so
right.
if we got a like Farm Share for the last 2 weeks has got lots of green beans. So we had frozen green beans and we just put them away to give away, because
Yeah.
there are going to be some weeks that we don't get the green beans and we'll put the frozen green beans. But I never intended to be a grocer. Um, it's just, but we're learning these things, and we need to learn them quickly, because I have a lot of other things on my plate as an organization. We have coming up a middle school basketball tournament in June. You may not know this, but last year we did a baby shower in partnership with the community of Pompano. So I did it last year at EPAT Larkins in Pompano. I had hoped to get 100 women who were either not yet had given birth or in their first year of having the baby. We got 240 women.
Wow.
And so this year it will be in Deerfield Beach, and that'll be the fourth Saturday in July. And so that's an important thing. And then, of course, our third annual community fair will be September 9th. And last year was about 1,000 people. So it kind of overwhelmed us. So I say that just to say that we need to get this part, Nina's Place, really cooking on all gears, and then I can back out a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, it sounds like, if someone has, that experience and wants to volunteer, they should certainly, reach out to you. So, yeah, I think
Absolutely.
it's nice to hear, how rapidly you're just really growing and serving the community. So that's a super encouraging thing to hear. So that out of something that was so tragic, that this much good has come out of it. And I know it's your vision to, prevent these things from happening in the future, because no family wants to have to go through that tragedy, because the scars are just, they're permanent,
Yes.
I think it's a huge task, and but I think it's sounds like from what you're telling me that you really have a vision in place, and you have the groundwork in place to kind of help you and the community, just like you were saying, achieve what the community needs. So I think it's an amazing task, that you have, and the other people that are supporting you, just like you mentioned, Zion Lutheran Church, and the other community partners. It's really encouraging to see everyone come together to do such a positive thing. So on that note, what would be then the one thing or the one message that you would want to leave with people, for people to really remember and take away from our conversation?
Thank you for that question. I think there are a couple of things. I think number one, support for Nina's Place is a critical foundational thing at this point because our community is in need. But I also think come talk to us because we need your input. We need the community to continue to tell us. Our board meeting is the second Monday of the month. We provide pizza or snacks or whatever. We have open conversation. It sounds like I know everything, but that's because people are telling me what to do, and that's fine. Um, I think we're at a critical point. We've written a few grants to do more things for next year, working with the Packard Rattlers and other organizations because we're out at their football games every Saturday because that's where people are. But they're telling us they need tutoring, they need mentoring, they need other supports for that group of kids. We're working and have submitted to some community organizations to create the Deerfield Beach Youth Development and Leadership Academy, where we can support that. I don't have the money for that right now. I have the vision for it, but I don't have that full funding. Now we may get a great call tomorrow, but in I am the guy who's got boots on the ground and likes to be on the ground. And I need to be less on the ground so I can raise
Mhm.
the money so we can in fidelity do this work. I didn't mention this, but because things at Zion have gone so well, um, I approached them about more space. And they had an unused classroom in the early learning center, which is now going to become the Deerfield Beach Community Cares gathering place, so that we can, because we go out in the community, like, we do these things out. But then when people, like I've had women say to me, well, can't you put on a series of seminars on safety for women? We're looking to create this place where we can bring people, where we can have other community providers, because as you well know, the northeast corner of the county doesn't have the home of any of our mental health providers. So they have to come up here and serve. So
Mhm.
this would be an opportunity where they can kind of function much like in Eagles Haven and Parkland, what happened after the tragedy there, kind of a gathering
Mhm.
place. So that's on um, but we just reached out to all of the Deerfield Beach schools yesterday to them, give us your uniforms, the ones that kids outgrow. We'll launder them over the summer, we'll size them and give them back to you. So just whatever it might be. So what I would say is organizations such as yours that hear about us, we need you. And we appreciate you stepping up, but there are more of yous out there. Um, it really takes the village, and it's our vision to align the tugboats so that my example with you earlier being my younger sister who's acting out, we need to get to that family. We need to provide those, and not everything we do is huge, because huge things make an impact, but small things make an impact too. Right before Christmas, I got a call from a school social worker at one of our elementary schools, and there's a kid coming to school who had deformed legs, has deformed legs, and was taking the school wheelchair. And so the wheelchair was not available in case anything happened. And I, 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 I said, connect me with the parents. Well, the parents never got to me for whatever reason. But in 2 days, we a wheelchair. So you don't know that that kid who now has his own wheelchair may become the president someday or whatever, or the CEO of your organization. So it's not everything that's big. And frankly, I need bodies. I need people who see this vision and want to get involved on the community fair or want to help us put on the or whatever it might be.
Mhm. Oh, that's amazing. No, I really appreciate you taking the time to share the whole vision, and especially in your role, as the founder and really leader, you're spearheading everything. So I really appreciate you taking the time to share everything with us today. And I know our offices are looking forward to, helping to support, not just Nina's Place, but also, Deerfield Beach Community Cares and just to partner with you guys, in the years to come.